your transition from jail to the streets. How was that transition coming out? Uh,
I mean, it was kind of easy because I had my mind already made up what I wasn't going to do. I didn't
mm-hmm,
know what I was going to do, but I knew what I wasn't going to do, and I believe in the power of relationships and resources.
mm-hmm,
So, I believed in videography, photography. That was something I was very passionate about. But I was convinced I wasn't going to work for somebody for so long. So I know how to get a job to comply with my parole and my release conditions. But I was just trying to find out, find out about things I knew that was going to help me grow. And a
yeah,
lot of times people don't understand there's a difference to me between change and grow.
mm-hmm,
Change sometimes is inevitable, you know what I'm saying? But growth is not always what people try to invest in. And I want to invest in my growth, in terms of building relationships, healthy ones, using resources to help elevate, my life in ways where I couldn't do it on my own or organically, But it was kind of just hanging around with good people, man. And surrounding myself with people who had my best interests, who didn't just want me to do what was,
right,
popular at the time. And everybody thought that I was gonna come home and hit the streets, but I was determined, man, no, not to let my kids down twice in the same lifetime. I knew I could think,
right,
and I just knew I had to find my lane and apply myself. And I've been blessed to have some very healthy, strong relationships that has helped me create opportunities for myself that otherwise I wouldn't have been afforded if not for those relationships.
mm-hmm. Okay, okay, okay. And you, any people come in mind that you could think of that was as soon as you got up was just like, man, on your neck, like, man, I know you mature, but we need you here. Anybody kept their
You
foot in
mean
your neck?
as far as like
Any coaches,
my
uncles?
best friend? My best friend, Eric. He was in when I came home. I mean, my family, everybody knew that I had more in me than what I
Sure.
did in my past, right?
Right.
And again, like I say, some decisions was inescapable. It was part of the culture back then, growing up feeling as though you had to do certain things to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And I always give everybody, scenarios and analogies like the lion. The lion, in the zoo,
Mm-hmm.
he's on display. The
Mm-hmm.
lion in the circus, he entertaining. But if you go to Africa, or the safari, you see Africa, a lion in the wild, he's surviving. No
Mm-hmm.
one's giving him anything. He hasn't been domesticated, so he has to find a way to survive. I kind of liken myself to that lion who's out there trying to survive because no one was giving me anything. And some folk might say, well, it's an excuse or justification, but not having a father figure in your life, your mom on drugs, limited resources, and my self-esteem wasn't strong as it should have been for me to elevate my decision making and make good decisions. You know what I'm saying? So I used those opportunities to try to find ways to succeed, and it was the wrong decision to make because I ended up doing receiving 15 years. Although I didn't agree with all the stipulations that they levied against me because they lie so good, man. I tell you, boy,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
make you think you're telling the truth. The
yeah.
federal government I'm talking about, but I wasn't innocent,
Mm-hmm.
of everything that happened in my lifetime. I just didn't do what they said I'd done.
Right,
So unfortunately, I went away. When I came home, I was determined not even to get in on people's way.
right.
So I changed my thinking. I put myself on the right path. I stayed on that path, and I invested into myself. Like and we say, bet on yourself. I invested in myself, and then I bet on myself.
Right, okay, okay, yeah, that's a good mantra to pass on to somebody, like believe in yourself, because a lot of times people put their hopes on what they see on social media or the dude around the corner and stuff like that, right? But I mean, actually, explain to me what is Stokey Project? What is that? The Stokey
Well, I
Project?
had my rest in peace, my friend Raul Smith. We came home, and I really wanted to invest and support a lot of local artists, rappers,
Mm-hmm.
and et cetera. And I didn't want it to be singular. So if I say a Stokey Project, that's one, endeavor. But I want it to be a Stokey Project. So if I touch it, that's one of the Stokey projects. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So like a lot of times, I wanted, the guy kept telling me, man, invest in your brand, your
Mm-hmm.
name's strong, invest in your brand. And Raouf, helped me create the name, the Stokey Project, and we just ran with it, man. So we got management, we got marketing, we got consulting, mentoring whenever I'm available to do so. But I've been blessed, man, to meet some wonderful people to manage. I consult with some very fine people who I end up doing contracts with to manage. I did a marketing, had a wonderful marketing opportunity as a director with Shoe City for several years. That worked out fine. Um, But the Stokey project is up and coming, man. We about to jump into some film, documentaries. We got some under, my sleeve, but it's nothing that I really want to put out there yet. So I'm gonna work on some real premium projects, man, for 2022, man, and see what happens.
Okay. You got any of your artists that you want to shout out or
All of them, man.
I know you can't get them all, but
really, it ain't me. Lil Skies, number one. Lil Skies changed my life, man. He believed in me. He trusted in the process. He just helped me, understand the music business. You know what I'm saying? And I think through that platform, I was able to take music very seriously. My son, YBS Scholar, like he has helped me, understand the business. You know what I'm saying? In ways where if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't even want to learn the music business. I just didn't want nobody to get over my son. And if they got over my son, that means I'm doing him a disservice. You know what I'm saying? And it's several people I'm working with now. We just did some new business endeavors, man. I'm just excited about 2022. So, when someone mentions my name, they can look at a company that's premium, that's honorable, and has all the necessary characteristics for success, opposed to just being someone who using somebody's name just to like piggyback off someone else. You know what I'm saying? I don't want that to be for me. I want to put the client first and, do my best to satisfy and make sure that we support all their endeavors.
Right. Okay. I see you speak. You say your father wasn't in your life, and I noticed you was with your son when he was rapping, and while he's still rapping, and you got your son with you today. Is that inspiration from him not being in your life, your father not being in your life, or
yeah, it's funny because it took for him not to be in my life for me to know what was missing, right, and not to do that to my own kids, So my kids are my best friends. I mean, we very compatible. But he'll tell you right now, I would never let them beat me in basketball until I say I retire. I mean, stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? My daughter's my best friends. I want them to use the cheat sheet, for me on how a man should treat a woman, But my kids, they my everything, and building a platform and creating generational wealth for my kids is all I want to do. Like I done everything I possibly could ask, God to allow me to do so far, But to see my kids healthy and happy and successful is a dream come true for me, and that's what I'm investing in right now. I don't need. I mean, this is the first time in my life I can say I've been happy, healthy, and successful at the same time. Normally I'm healthy, and then I'm happy, but I'm not successful, right? Or I'm successful, and healthy, but I'm not happy. So, but this is the first time I can say that all three is in, conjunction, and I'm moving, and everything that I'm doing my best to achieve, I'm achieving.
Well, I'm gonna have to give your son some inside scoop. They say, man, they say on the basketball court, they say you only can go right. They say you can't go left.
They
say you only go right.
But see, that's before I learned how to use my quickness. Now Keith Goody told you that, you know what I'm saying? And Keith won't play me, but I used to have a strong right, and Keith should always say take his right away, and you got him, you know what I'm saying? But I can name a lot of players. My son always say Chris Paul can't go left, you know what I'm saying? Right. But Chris Carl, future Hall of Famer, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So sometimes, man, you got to work with what you have to be successful. And I think I've done that a lot of days on the basketball court because, I mean, it's not that someone shut me down,
right?
You know what I'm saying? So, but I could have been probably a prolific basketball player if I learned the basketball mechanics. I was telling somebody the other day about Sam Cassell. Shout out to Sam. Sam had more heart than me. And Sam was determined to learn basketball because he loved it. I liked it as a hobby, in the craft. And it wasn't, my purpose, it was a passion. You can tell that basketball was Sam's purpose. Right. And Sam loved the game of basketball, so Sam worked on every aspect of his game till he perfected it, you know what I'm saying? Right. That's why he was able to play in the NBA and win 3 championships.
Right. Okay, yeah, okay. Sam, shout out to Sam. Sam, actually, we got a date from coming on too, man, so I'm going to bring that up to him, so you're getting that love to him. But actually, it's from the, I know Baltimore always been an aggressive town, long as I can remember, and probably before. But it seemed like to me from the outside looking in, and people having conversations from the outside looking, it seemed like after the wire, it just went to new heights. I mean, do you see that, or that's just
after the wire?
After the wire, this thing you got either
no,
worse or it's always been like that.
I was incarcerated when they made the wire, and I mean, you had a few police and a few writers who came together and they created the story, but and most of it was outdated information that was concerning the projects that were no longer there. But Baltimore has always been a hard love city, man. We don't really have too many Fortune 500 companies. We don't produce and manufacture a lot. We're not metropolitan, but Baltimore loves itself in a way where as though we're not identical to nothing else. Our lingo, our language, the way we talk, the way we think, the way we behave. And unfortunately, after Freddie Gray demise, untimely as it was, Baltimore went in a different direction. And I feel as though when you are an inner city community, or your community inside the inner city, you don't get the proper resources and help that you need, to turn those lives around. You can't expect a kid to see a vacant house every single day and think about Beverly Hills. That's not logical. You're going to believe in what you see more than likely. And a lot of these kids are hopeless and desensitized because they don't see, change in their life or in their community. And that's one of the reasons why I ran for mayor. I didn't run for mayor because I wanted to win. And it might sound like a cliche, but that's the honest God truth, because I felt like that platform was perfect for me to show everybody what change looked like. I mean, everything those kids in the city went through, I went through. Obviously, I've never been sexually abused or physically abused, but I'm saying mentally abused, yes, by my mom using drugs, not being able to provide for me the things I needed because of her addiction, my father not being there. But I always excelled in education. I just wasn't committed to anything because I ain't had nobody to keep that foot on my neck. So I was always able to do and roam the streets as a young kid. And even at 10 years old, my biological father gave me drugs to hold. So I was introduced to things by people that say they love me. You know what I'm saying? And now when you think about Baltimore as a whole, there's a lot of other kids that had that same story, maybe not identical, but they can agree with some of the things that I went through. So I can agree with them, and why I want to use my life as a platform or use that platform to tell my life story on why kids can be better than me. You don't have to achieve more, just you can be better though. I might not never have as much money as Michael Jordan, right? You know what I'm saying? But it's a possibility I can jump higher than him, if I apply myself. So for me, it was like giving kids realistic expectations and hope, and not to give up on themselves because they was black or they had a record or their father. Like they all things that do happen, but I wanted to prove that we can change the narrative, and challenge status quo and go beyond the scope of what they said we couldn't do. Right. And I think I've done a good job. Unfortunately, people, and it kind of upset me because people I thought got it, they didn't get it. It went over their head. They thought that I was trying to become mad. I was making millions of dollars in music. Why would I, stop doing that to become someone's, employee, right? I mean, yes, I wanted to change the dynamics of the city, but I wanted to do it from a different scope, And like Jay says, Stoke, you don't want to go inside there because when you go inside there, they control you. You know what I'm saying? But outside, you can use your leverage. As long as you're at the table, you can make change. So now I want to be at the table to make change. And unfortunately, the mayor and the commissioner, who I thought I had a good rapport with, hasn't reached out. And we had 300 plus homicides last year, and we're on course to have another 300 this year. We got 30-some homicides, and the money ain't over yet, And it's a shame they won't allow people who the community respect and trust to help them deal with that problem. I don't know what it feels like to be, a doctor or a paramedic, I don't know how to, be a mechanic. But if it's dealing with the inner city of Baltimore and these urban kids, I can relate to that because that's what I've done my whole life.
Right. And you said something pivotal. Me working with the youth also, people don't understand that sexual piece is a mean piece. The mental health is a mean piece too.
Right.
And, it's a crazy thing. Before I lose my thought real fast, I'm gonna jump back in that. What is the name Charm City? What the
That's before my time. I think I don't know. I mean, I don't know if William Donald Schaefer, our former mayor, who called it Charm City. I guess but I'm gonna do some research on that. But it was always a Charm City, mantra for Baltimore. And I mean. I think it got a little dark after a while, but it was called Charm City.
Okay. And we touched right back on the mayor piece. So, if the mayor was right here right now, I mean, what would you tell them that you can do immediately? Not we know he.
Well, first of all, I would tell him that he has to be understandably and educated on who we are and who I am as an individual. I'm not a puppet. I'm not somebody that's going to go outside screaming, yell at buildings. That's not going to change nothing. We got to create a new moratorium based on what these kids need today. These kids don't need what I needed a long time ago. So if I'm dealing with a 35-year-old man, he don't need a recreation center. So you got those at risk, those risking everything, and those who don't give a fuck. You gotta be able to identify with those people and know how to chronicleize, your movements to a point where as though you reach the ones that you can reach. I can't save everybody. Jesus couldn't do that. But at the end of the day, the ones I can reach, I can help. And I'm saying once they see somebody like me involved, they're gonna trust the process because they know for a fact I'm not a hypocrite. I'm not out here playing these games, throwing bricks at the penitentiary, then trying to act like I'm a demigod. Like that's not what I do. But more importantly, you got kids out here who look up to people who they want to be like or be better than, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Think about when I came up, it was Dr. J.
Right.
I fell in love with Jordan in the 80s.
Right.
But Doc was playing, in the 70s and 80s before Jordan. So my whole thing is not about trying to be like me. It's about being better than me, making better decisions, but I can try to help them allocate the resources and put things in perspective. Like we got 17,000 vacant homes. The squeezy kids are making more money than some people with a 9 to 5 because they feel entitled. They outside every day and they squeezing these cars, and people are afraid not to give them money because they might be, disrespected or assaulted. So them kids done figured it out. My thing is you gotta create an entrepreneurial program and put them guys somewhere where they can use their skill sets. So no one won't feel offended when they don't give them money because they got something for them to do. Right now, when you can't relate to the people and you worry about one particular class, it's gonna always fall by the wayside. Like Baltimore got sections that don't have problems. They got issues. The inner city in the hood got problems. They looking at life in realistic terms. Like, I might not make it home. You know what I'm saying? And you gotta try to calm that down, but with people they can talk to them and people they respect. And I would tell him, let some real men at the table.
And you said earlier about kids growing up, seeing all them vacant houses, hard for them to dream, see what Beverly Hills look like. But it's like when you go to bed, you swing for the fences. I mean, you come home, you try to do a movie about yourself, you run for the mayor now. You jumped over every motherfucker thing, went for the mayor. Like, what allowed you to dream big, seeing the same gloomy type of...
Well, the difference is my reality came from the fact that I already made the mistakes I don't want them to make. And what I'm saying is that I'm not saying it's not hard to dream. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying these kids can dream beyond because they only got social media. They can go to China on their phone. I had to go through a encyclopedia to see China, right? But I'm saying now things have changed. What I'm saying is their focus, is very important. These kids go to school just to eat now, not to learn, because things have changed. So what I'm saying, when you have problematic issues in the inner city of Baltimore and it's so prevalent, you can't expect these kids to focus on education when they're hungry. You can't expect these kids to leave out the house and see rats and roaches and focus on the better things in life. It's hard. It's a distraction. And it's repetitive. They see it every single day. They can't afford to move. So they call it the trap for a reason. You know what I'm saying? Because some of these kids really feel not only physically trapped, but mentally trapped. Their mothers can't afford to move. Think about it. How many people in our community retire and move to Florida? That ain't what they do. They retire and they play numbers all day. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, so they can hopefully hit the lotto to move. No one wants to stay there because of the conditions. I'm saying is that I came home and I swung for the fences because I knew that I was more than what they said I was and I could do more. And I know these kids could do the same thing. But you got to see it to believe it. If you don't see it, you probably won't believe it. You know what I'm saying? And they say seeing is believing. You know what I'm saying? But I never would say what these kids can do. And I mean, a mayor position was allowed because of the laws of the land that even allowed me to run. In certain places, you can't even run for office if you have a record, right? But Baltimore is one of the places that you can. And I just wanted everybody to know, listen, y'all look up to me from doing a lot of community activism and things like that. But I want to use this platform to show everybody what change look like. Because if I can do it, y'all can do it. So my message to them was what you just said. You can continue to dream because I did it, and you can do it as well.
So, let me ask you, did you have any dilemma, any problems? Because I know when you making that transition, when you got a street reputation, that you making that transition where you trying to help the community, youth, the oldest, and everybody. Right. So you start have to find yourself doing some communication with the law, with the police, and the government.
I mean, I'm a man.
You had any kickback on that?
No, I'm a man, and I never told nobody in my life. You know what I'm saying? And I know there's consequences to everything we do in life, good, bad, or indifference. And I think any law-abiding citizen know that we're a nation of laws. I can't repeal any type of sanction that's levied against someone who for breaking the law because that's not my job description. I'm saying, but at the end of the day, no, I mean, we need police. You know, we need good police, though. You know, and I'm not saying that I agree with all the funding they get, because I think we can probably find a way to invest in more education and more in other resources. But that's not my call. I'm just saying, if I'm talking to a police, it ain't about a crime you commit. It's about helping them do a better job. You can talk to police about helping them be better police. Like when you go to a man on the corner, instead of you asking where he live, give him a job application. You know what I'm saying? Make sure he okay. You know what I'm saying? About his well-being. So for me, it would be trying to help them become better police, because I know the people they're targeting and how to even come in contact with that person respectfully to a point where though they will engage with you, because that's the disconnect. They don't trust police at all, which is plural, because of a policeman who did something bad, right? Or policemen who did something bad. So for me, I never had a problem like that. I mean, and I think everybody understands, we got kids, man. I want my kids to be safe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If I can't carry a gun, so unfortunately, you know what I'm saying. But so you gonna need police to protect and serve, And if not, then we'll be a lawless town. Because that means everybody mother will be robbed, everybody father will be robbed. Who want to live like that?
Right. Yeah, and it's like it seems like it's to the point now where do you think any level of trust will be come back with the community and the police on any level?
I think it's going to be hard when you have poor leadership. See, again, when you ask him about the mayor, you can't always talk about people. You got to talk to them. And when you talk to them, they'll understand if you got their best interest or not. And I always tell my children and my close minds to focus on people's intentions, right? Because you already know if someone got good intentions. So for me, it's like, if you allow the police to do their job, because we used to have Officer Friendly coming up.
Right.
The
whole band, Officer Friendly band, everything.
He know who everybody was, where they lived, and if something happened, it wasn't like he was gonna beat you up or try to kill you.
Right.
Now some police made a profit off of criminals, and that's what that wasn't what their job description called for, right? So I think as time goes on, we find loyal, dedicated, committed people who really love what they do and love people. And we love people, you're going to do your best to serve people, and that's on any level in life, whether you're a clergy, a politician or police, you're going to do your best to serve people.
Right, okay. All right, well, I'm going to ask you something. Don't have your phone jumping off the hook right now, man. I know Baltimore, big sports town. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people, man. You spoke on Sam earlier. But I'm gonna put you on the spot, man. I want you to name the top 5 basketball dudes that come out of Baltimore. They don't care if they play playground, pro.
See,
it gotta be no order.
I'm gonna be biased because, and I always say this, right? It's guys that I grew up with, who I thought should have been in the NBA had they had the proper resources or platform to get them there without being derailed from problematic issues in their life. You had Keith Morrow. He was a guard. I think, he could have been. You had Tony Bunch. It's certain guys I feel like, for me, my childhood hero.
Well, that's
you know
strong.
what I'm saying?
You named 2 I ain't never heard of.
They not hard to find. I mean, of course, you got the David Wingates of the world.
Right.
I mean, you got the Sands, you got Kirk Lee. I can go on and on and on, but for me, it's guys in my community who I seen every single day, who I idolized, who was my heroes, who I feel like was the best in the city at that time. Because, I grew up at a time where as though basketball wasn't my passion. I started playing late. And then when I started playing, as I got to move around the city, I started to catch up and educate myself on who was who, whether it be Dunbar, Walbrook, these high schools in Baltimore who had these good players. But, there's so many guys, man, I never want to do the city a disservice, and I'm not ever going to say who was better than who. I just think, I was telling him today on the way up here, Baltimore got too many good guys and some great kids who I think should have flooded the NBA and the college level. Whatever reason didn't happen, I don't know, but Baltimore, like D.C., has so many different ball players, man. And I always tell people, I ask everybody, was Michael Jordan the best basketball player in the world? And they say, yeah. I said, well, I disagree. They said, why? I said, Michael Jordan the best basketball player y'all probably seen. But there's somebody I know who probably killed Mike, who messed up, you know what I'm saying? Got locked up that day, missed practice, you know what I'm saying? Or was in the hood and who couldn't get out, right? You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
I mean, it's a lot. It's too many great basketball players in Baltimore to name 5. But I would honestly say my 5 would be people in my community who I seen every single day.
Oh man, you took a safe route, man. You took a safe route.
I'm
man.
just saying, I'm being honest with you though.
Out the park, niggas know me. Curtbone, little homie. All days, yeah. Been a road,